My dear brothers and sisters, welcome to practicing the presence of God in our lives. It is easier to say we worship God than to practice or live in His ways, day in and out. I cannot say that it has been easy for me to consistently live the way our Jesus lived, but I can say that every journey begins with a single step, and in the areas I have fallen short, I consistently ask for repentance and seek His face. Today, I will be talking about why we continue to judge or criticize people when time and time again it has been said in the Bible as something we should not do. This is a topic that is hardly talked about by preachers, pastors, evangelists, etc., but I feel it is such an important topic to talk about. I have come to realize that we hardly see the wrongs done by those we love. Others seem to see them quickly rather than us. As said in the Bible, we should love our neighbors as ourselves. In doing so, we reduce or perhaps eliminate the issue of judging others. It's so easy for us to point our fingers, name, criticize, and render others' actions inferior to ours. But the truth is, as the saying goes, unless you walk in my shoes and feel the pains of what I am going through or where I've been, only then will you have the right to speak. One of the reasons why we judge people, even though most of us are not aware of it, are there factors responsible for this. One of them is our perception. Proverbs 12:15 says, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice." Perception is how we see things from our point of view, from our point of reference. I always say to my clients, if I draw a straight line and label from 1 to 10, with gap between the numbers, and ask 10 people to stand next to each number, if I then place an object in the middle, would you agree with me that each individual will see that object differently and judge or define that object based on how they see it from their own point of view? That's what happens when we look at others. We define them, criticize them, because we are standing in a different reference point from them. This point of view comprises of several factors, which includes perception, beliefs, social and environmental factors, background, and religion. Mark chapter 2 verses 8 says, "And immediately Jesus, perceiving in his spirit that they just questioned within themselves, said to them, 'Why do you question these things in your hearts?'" Let us begin today not to label people, judge, criticize, and blame others without actually seeing it from their point of view or showing some empathy. I can't remember if this is a story that was told to me by someone or if it was in one of the many books that I've read. A man was sitting on a train and noticed two children were making so much noise. He also observed that their father was seated there as well and looking at them, but said nothing to caution them. After a while, he approached the man and said to him if he could calm his children down. But the man replied, "We have just left the hospital after being told their mother, my wife, just died, and we are making our way back home." The man who was asking felt so ashamed of himself. A few minutes ago, he thought that the father of these children were there, saw them misbehaving on the train and could not control them, only to find out that the man's wife just died and the children are unsure what to make of it. He quickly apologized, offered his condolences, and left. I'm not saying that this happens all the time, but the point is, unless you can see from my exact point of location, my exact point of view, try to refrain from pointing fingers at me or anybody else. Lastly, I leave you with Romans chapter 14 verses 3. "Let us not therefore judge one another any more, but judging this rather, that no man put a stumbling block or an occasion to fall in his brother's way. My dear brothers and sisters, may God continue to bless you and grant you your heart desires until we meet next week. Like, share, or comment. God bless. Neville.